What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to Damon Marsh for the donation to the channel via the PayPal. And he had a question. And his question was, what if Ralph Sampson, because he wasn't aware of this, he's been inspired to read more about NBA history by channels like myself and others. But he said that what if Ralph Sampson had been drafted by the Showtime Lakers instead of the Houston Rockets? So this is the scenario, okay? So Ralph Sampson, who was a college phenom out of the University of Virginia, you can make an argument Ralph Sampson is one of the top 5 greatest collegiate players ever. Ralph Sampson was obviously drafted in 1983 by the Houston Rockets, but he almost came out a year earlier in 1982 and entered the 1982 draft. But what caused him not to do that was because, well, the top 2 picks for that draft would have came down to the Lakers and the Clippers. And it was seen as basically a 50-50 chance that he would go to either team. Ralph Sampson didn't want a chance him being drafted by the Clippers. He had no desire to play for the Clippers and Donald Sterling. And can you blame him? You know what I'm saying? So he recommitted to the University of Virginia and came out the next year. Now, we all know now that the Lakers won the pick and drafted James Worthy out of the University of North Carolina. But what if Ralph Sampson stayed in that draft and was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers? Now, of course, I guess in this scenario, they don't get James Worthy, but the Lakers get a player that was being seen as the successor to Wilt and Kareem. Ralph Sampson was 7'4", 228 pounds. So he was not a big, bruising, plotting center. He was like a gazelle, the tallest gazelle, but he was like a gazelle. So he would fit right in. Young, lean, 7'4", 225, 230 pounds. He would fit right in with the Showtime Lakers running gun style. You know what I'm saying? He also was he was actually a pretty good damn passer for to be a big man, a really good passer. And he was like a precursor to Victor Wembanyama and some of the more skilled big men, Akeem Olajuwon, some of the more skilled big men that we would see in the future at that time. He had ball handling ability. He had range out to a little bit more than what we were accustomed to seeing from big men, out to 18, 19 feet, I believe it was. He was a strong defensive player, shot blocker in particular. He could score. He could rebound decently, but he was not a bruising, overpowering Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, Dennis Rodman type rebounder. He would get you anywhere between 9 to 11 rebounds a night. And that's pretty good, right? But, I have a rule when it comes to that, when it comes to rebounding. And I notice if you look at the history of great rebounders, height isn't everything, contrary to what some of these people tell you, because there have been numerous rebounding champions who've been under 7 feet tall. And when you look at all of the rebounding champions in the history of the game, none of them have been taller than 7'2". And those two were Dikembe Mutombo and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It seems that once you get over that 7'2" plateau, I should say, you start to struggle as far as being an elite rebounder. Some of it has to do with the coordination. It's not always about height. It's about anticipation, placement, boxing out, and quickness and reaction. And it does help to be an athlete when it comes to rebounding. It helps. when I think of all the great rebounders in the history of this league, um, I think they virtually have all been great athletes. And if they haven't been great athletes, what helps them to overachieve in that area is anticipation, memory, boxing out, and heart and desire. So anyway, getting off of that topic, yeah, I think Ralph Sampson would fit right in, man. Of course, I think he would play power forward with the Showtime Lakers. Kareem would be a center, so that means Ralph would be more out. He'd be more in the high post, but I could see his passing being utilized with this team. Um, Man, you got a front court of Kareem and Ralph Sampson, 7'2", 7'4". Um, I think with this team, Ralph uh, would take over more scoring burden from Kareem. So if Kareem was averaging around 25 or so at this point in time in his career, that might drop down more to 20. I also tend to think that, you know, their small forward, who was the small forward at the time? Well, ultimately that wound up being who James Worthy, right? Whoever wound up being at that position probably would have been more of a 3 and D guy. I'm thinking more of a D guy, maybe a 3 and D guy. Trying to think who was in the league at that time. I don't think it would have been a elite shooter, but a guy that, or elite scorer, I should say, but definitely a guy that could score when need be, but didn't need the ball to score, which is why James Worthy works so well with that team. But without James Worthy, damn, shoot. Well, I guess Cooper would get more minutes, right? Because, see, their backcourt ended up being, after Norm Nixon, their backcourt ended up being Byron Scott, Magic Johnson. So I guess Cooper would get to start at small forward. And yeah, Cooper. I guess it'd be Cooper. Cooper, Ralph Sampson, and Kareem. Because I know sometimes what happened, they would move Worthy to the power forward position, have Cooper at small forward, and Byron Scott, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it would be Kareem, Michael Thompson, Worthy, Byron Scott, Cooper coming off the bench, maybe starting the game, but he'd be in the game at the end, whatever. But yeah, man. Look, put it like this. I think that Ralph Sampson would fit that team. I don't know what numbers he would add. That wouldn't be an overpowering front court as far as physicality is concerned. But as far as points, scoring, it'll just as far as an intimidating presence, that they're gonna really shut down forays to the rim with their shot blocking ability and threat of shot blocking. And, Sampson would definitely help out, like I said before, rebounding. He would definitely help out with that. And, man, just to have a guy that tall on the floor who has a 36-inch vertical leap, which is ridiculous for a guy 7'4". We know anything about the laws of physics and mass, and it's just unusual for a guy to be that tall to have a 36-inch vertical leap. I know that 36-inch vertical leap doesn't jump out at you, but it's the difference if it's a guy that's 6'2" versus a guy 7'4". Can you imagine him playing with Magic Johnson? How many easy buckets he would get just playing with Magic? So look, let's say he joins the team in '82. So how does that work? Well, do they beat the '83 Sixers with Ralph Sampson on the team? I tend to think the '83 Sixers might still win that series, maybe, but it would be a much more competitive series, going probably like 7 games, right? Um, I think just because of their sheer talent, they win the championship in '84, they win the championship in '85, they win the championship in '86, and they win the championship in '87. Yes, you hear what I'm saying. Mother, yep, I said it. They went in a full peak, 84, 85, 86, 87, and probably 88. Absolutely. I said it. They go down as arguably the greatest dynasty the game has ever seen. Now, of course, Bill Russell's Celtics won 8 in a row and 11 overall, but this is a league that at the time has, 23 teams? Versus when Bill played 8 to 14 teams. Well, yeah, 8 to 14 teams. So absolutely, that's what I think is going to happen. I think that they would win 4 to 5 championships in a row. Now, the reason why I'm hedging on 88, right, is because when I look at how Ralph Sampson's career progressed in real life, by 88, he started having injury issues. Now, with the addition of all these extra playoff games, I'm wondering if the same thing happens, but a year earlier when he starts breaking down by 87. Because I think that's inevitable. Ralph Sampson is going to start breaking down. There's going to be a lull period where, you don't have Ralph Sampson. The Lakers are going to struggle to a certain extent, at least compared to the championship years. And then they have to kind of, you know, recalibrate and start over with, I'm saying, the addition of guys like Eldon Campbell and Vlade Divac, that era. But ultimately, I think they trade Ralph Sampson by 89 or 90. That's what I tend to think, right? Um, as far as personality clashes, I don't think that's going to be a problem. But personality definitely matters. People kind of leave that out. But yeah, that's how I tend to look at this, man. But I do think for about a 5-year window, the Lakers going to be unstoppable with Ralph Sampson, man. Unstoppable. Unstoppable. And not only do I think that they'll be unstoppable, but playing with Magic Johnson, and you know how Magic Johnson motivates guys to be at their best and bringing the best out you? I wouldn't put it past that Ralph Sampson wins the MVP award with the Lakers. Absolutely. I think Larry Bird don't win 3 straight MVPs. Absolutely. I said it. I think Ralph Sampson wins an MVP in '86 and Magic in '87. I'm just gonna go. I'm just going out there with it. I'm just going out there with it. You know. But anyway, that's just how I look at it, man. Now, before I end this video, there's an alternate reality too. What if Ralph Sampson doesn't suffer from injury issues, and he has a normal, at the time, 13 to 15-year career? Does Kareem play a little longer than what he did before? with less rebounding duties due to him, less defensive pressure on him because of Sampson. And his main goal is just go out there and skyhook motherfuckers to death. That's all you gotta do. What about scoring? A motherfucker come to you down the paint, yeah, contest that. But does he play another 2 to 3 years, Kareem? Does he play until he's 45? These are possibilities here. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.